Hi, I'm Vibrine Samuels and welcome back to another episode of Soul Stirring Astrology, where I give you my textured take on the world of astrology. Well, welcome back. Today Saturn goes retrograde through Aquarius and then back into Capricorn. So this season actually starts today, May the 11th, through to September the 28th. So we've got about a 4.5 month window when Saturn is in a really powerful position because it's going through both of the signs that it rules. So with Saturn in Aquarius, we know that we're looking at utopian ideals, we're looking at the collective, but we're also looking at Saturn, and Saturn's powerful here. So there's this sense of trying to bring some rigor and some structure to maybe scientific ideas and ideals. However, it's at 1 degree and it's going to be retrograding back through to 25 degrees of Capricorn. So there's a duality going on here. We've got the sense of moving towards the collective consciousness and collective awareness back through to this sense of personal fulfillment and achievement. So because it's straddling the two signs, on the one hand, what we're beginning to see, because it's retrograde, it's an opportunity to start exploring plans that could benefit the collective. So just today, for example, Boris Johnson announced plans to get Britain back into work post COVID-19. So it's looking at this sense of the new normal. What is the new normal? So Saturn here represents the government and it's in Aquarius, so it's looking at the collective. So it fits perfectly. So over the next 4.5 months, for example, be it here in the UK or anywhere around the world, you might see this sense of how governments beginning to look at the rollout as to how we get back to a sense of normal, but the normal will be new because it's Aquarius. So that takes care of that because it's 1 degree, so it's very action orientated. It's got this cardinal energy. However, today in the UK, we're thinking, well, what did you actually say, Boris? It sounds a bit muddled, but we'll see how it pans out over the next 4.5 months. Having said that, when it goes back into Capricorn, what we may see is that there might be an authoritarian feel to what's happening. So, for example, the restrictions might be lifted, but if people breach laws and regulations and good practice, then they may actually face heavier fines. So there's a sense of being penalised in quite a stringent way because it's going back into Capricorn. When it also goes back into Capricorn, you want to consider this on a personal level, because if we think about the first 10 signs from Aries through to Capricorn, we're looking at the personal self, we're looking at achievement, we're looking at all the different areas that concern us directly. So when Saturn goes into Capricorn, what you're looking at here is it's retrograding. So are there any projects, be them personal projects or professional projects, career projects, anything that has a public dimension to it? Is a time for you to complete that. So this is about personal or professional fulfillment and achievement. So that brings us to the 10th house, which Saturn naturally rules. Now, when we think of the signs Aquarius and Pisces, they aren't personal signs. And so when you're dealing with Saturn in Capricorn, you found a way to integrate the mind, the body and the emotions. And so there's a sense of an integrative approach that you now bring to the outside world. However, where you have planets that are focused on Aquarius or Pisces, you may struggle a bit because the orientation isn't so much about the personal, the orientation is about the collective. So one needs to be mindful of, well, if you are orientated that way, what are you going to begin to do to anchor yourself so you take advantage of this season when Saturn goes back into Capricorn? When it moves back into Aquarius, when it starts going direct into Aquarius, the work that you've done on yourself up until the Capricornian point, it's now time for you to be contributing towards the collective awareness, the collective consciousness, collective activities. Now, Saturn finds it uncomfortable being in crowds. There might be this sense of aloneness, and that's because you're holding on to this sense of separateness. You've got to find a way in which you can begin to straddle your own personal contribution with regards to the expectations of how you're going to contribute once Saturn starts moving fully into Aquarius, which will be towards the end of the year when it goes back in towards the end of September, and will then be there for the next 2.5 years. Who do you need to become in order to begin contributing to the collective ideals? Now, Saturn struggles, as I say, because there's this, Saturn wants to be seen as unique and different and actually hold the aloofness as a badge of honour. I.e., look at me, aren't I brilliant, aren't I wonderful, look what I've achieved. And there's this sense, whether Saturn's in Aquarius or in Capricorn, is this sense that an expectation of deference in some way, shape or form. However, during this retrograde period, what you're being asked to do is think about, okay, you might need to complete some personal projects or some professional projects, but at the same time, it's about dealing with your fear of being seen as ordinary. Just ordinary, like everyday people, the everyday ordinary man and woman that you pass every day of your life. It's important to do this because when you're operating in this energy of I'm distinctive and I'm different and being aloof and, not condescending, but having a sense of, I've got gravitas and I bring that to the table and can't you see that? That actually holds you apart from the collective. And what you're seeking to do here is to find a way to merge with the collective, bringing about this sense of, how can I connect with other people, because you're now into the group identity. And a way to do that is to identify, what's happening in the zeitgeist. We're here collectively, obviously, experiencing COVID-19, which is having this massive seismic shift right around the world. So that's a zeitgeist moment. What else is happening in the zeitgeist? Because whatever you pick up that's happening in the zeitgeist is a reflection of the group needs that will be here in the future. But also it's an opportunity, while Saturn is retrograding through the signs it rules, for you to have a look at your own inner characters, because we're all populated by our different parts of our psyche. So it would be a great opportunity for you to explore the different parts of your psyche and how are you meeting the needs of your inner group. Spend this retrograde period over the next 4.5 months exploring that, particularly if you are accented towards Pisces and Aquarius. And obviously it applies to the other signs as well. Because once you've got an anchor on your inner group, you can then become far more sympathetic and more contributive to the collective group. And one way to think about it is this. Aquarius is about the future, and Capricorn is about the past. So what you could be thinking about is, what role could you play in terms of facilitating futuristic ideas and ideals and goals, and acting as a facilitator or a bridge between the future needs and where people are today. And that's going to be your contribution into the collective. And the collective could be your neighborhood, it could be your school, it could be whatever micro or macro platform that you have. You're looking to see what is operating in the zeitgeist. You need to move away from the ego and the sense of, I've got gravitas, which is very much about Saturn, through to, okay, I've got gravitas, how can I use this to benefit the collective? So that's Saturn retrograde going through Aquarius and Capricorn. So think about your role in terms of the personal fulfillment and handling that. And so by the time we hit September, going in October, you're really clear as to the contribution that you can make. And if you've already done the work, you can start contributing now. So that's it, beautiful people. Put your comments in the comment box below. I love to jam with you. I'd love to hear how you're beginning to show up. What opportunities are coming your way. that you think, oh, actually, that's a very interesting take on something. So, for example, what's happening in my life, several years ago I won an internationally recognised leadership award. And so it was a fantastic opportunity, and I went to China, did this research, and it was all brilliant. And just recently, the organisation reached back out to me and has invited me to consider, putting together something that could respond to the times that we're in. So that, for me, was another example of, this moment. We've got this zeitgeist moment. And so be aware of the opportunities that may flow toward you that have a humanitarian approach. I won't know whether I'm successful or not until, in a few weeks' time. But you might find that these types of opportunities will start emerging. And pay attention to those kind of gut instincts, those kind of seeds from the universe. The universe drops a seed, and then you can plant it, and then you can water it and see what comes about. So that's it. If you like this episode, feel free to share it with anybody in your network. I'll see you on the next episode, because we've got this week is a week of retrogrades. So I'll be bringing you something about Venus retrograde and Jupiter retrograde. So take care, and I'll see you again on the next episode. Bye.